Welcome back to Old and New Movie Review. I am Cabyats. Today we'll be kind of doing a Halloween show where we're reviewing a scary movie, a newer scary movie that just came out. It was hard to find one that was actually worth reviewing, so I decided that one that just came out on DVD called Underwater with Kristen, whatever her name is. It's with that girl from Twilight. It's got T.J. Miller in it. A bunch of people that you'd recognize from other things. There's a girl from Game of Thrones in there. And Iron Fist. She was the girl, the Asian girl in that. Uh, you know, she was okay in those movies. She was pretty good in this one, but she's that character that you kind of root against in this one. Anyway, so Underwater. Let's get started. Was it good, and did I like it? It was good. It actually was good, and that's very surprising to say from a Kristen Stewart movie and a run-of-the-mill scary movie, or what you would think would be a run-of-the-mill scary movie. It was different in the monsters and the things that were happening. It was pretty cool. I would say see it. It was pretty interesting. The middle gets very slow and obvious, but the beginning is very cool, and then the end, I'd say the middle, like maybe 20 minutes, is like, oh, let me just get through this. But then the end is good. The monsters are cool. The characters are realistic. So yeah, it's a great movie. I would say I would give it that little extra great. It was great. So what did I like? I did like the realistic dialogue. The characters talked to each other like human beings. They weren't ridiculous caricatures. They weren't Hollywood written characters where they're not, you can't imagine people actually talking to each other like this. It doesn't make any sense. No one would say that. Things of that nature usually happen in horror movies or just regular movies nowadays. And I think that's really lacking in movies. They don't have someone who can actually write dialogue for characters that's believable, that gets you to actually think that these are real people in danger or in a situation that a normal person wouldn't actually be in. See, it's hard to make a sci-fi movie or a horror movie because you have to put realistic people in an unrealistic environment, and if you don't have the first part of the realistic person, then everything is unrealistic. And then you really just fall out of the movie and you don't really want to watch it anymore or ever again. This wasn't like that. It was realistic people in a realistic in an unrealistic environment and situation. So it was kind of cool. The comedy actually was pretty funny too. TJ Miller usually delivers on that type of stuff. Sometimes he could get overbearing. In this one, sometimes it was weird because it was like, hey, we're almost going to die and you're joking about it. But I guess that could be attributed to a defense mechanism. Some people do that. Some soldiers are like that. People in life and death situations, you don't know how they're going to handle it. And that's their defense mechanism. That's how they cope with being almost killed or in a dangerous situation. So it actually played. The characters, most of them were likable. Some of them, like I said at the beginning, the one girl, you kind of want to die, which you always need those characters in horror movies, because if you like everybody, then it's just a depressing movie. It's like, oh my god, every character I liked got murdered, blah, 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 blah. This one is like, there was a couple characters where you're like, oh my god, will the monster just show up, please? Hurry up, kill this lady. But for the most part, you actually did root for the characters, and you're curious at what's going on. So you're along with the ride with the characters, which is a good thing for a horror movie to be. Is that a little bit mysterious, where you're like, okay, this character's trying to figure out what's going on. I'm also trying to figure out what's going on, so I feel like I'm part of it. That's a cool thing that they actually do in this movie. Other movies try and do that, and it doesn't play because the characters are unrealistic, or you can't relate to the characters, so it's hard to go along with the ride because you don't care about anybody. It's like, who cares? I'm completely out of it because
the situation is stupid and you're not a character that I would ever be around, I would just go this way. You go that way, I'll go this way. Who cares? So this one is a little different with that. Kristen Stewart, Kristen. I'm for the rest of this thing. I'm calling her Kristen. I don't care what her name is. It's probably Kristen, but Kristen Stewart is actually good in it. I hate her haircut. She has this like blonde buzz cut for no reason whatsoever. Maybe because she's supposed to be like the mechanical engineer. Maybe she's supposed to be butch or something. I don't know. She's got a picture of her boyfriend in the movie, or husband or something. So she's not gay or anything. So it wasn't that. It was just unnecessary. Why is your head shaved? Maybe she's like that in real life. Like probably it's a choice that she made in her own personal life, and they just carried it on in the movie. Either way, she looks ridiculous, but she is in her underwear a bunch in the movie, and I mean she's a very pretty girl. So I mean that's another positive of the movie is she's running around in her underwear. So is the other girl, the girl from Game of Thrones and Iron Fist. She's in her underwear a bunch. So that's a positive in the movie. It was something that I actually liked. The effects are good. I was surprised at that actually. I thought that they were going to be pretty bad. You don't expect a movie that you really haven't heard of to have good effects. This one did. Not too many people knew about this movie and know that it's coming out type of thing. At least it seemed that way. The effects in it were on point. I mean, there's parts where something's coming at them from far away and you're trying to figure out what it is, and as it gets closer it looks real. It looks like it's actually coming at them, as opposed to other movies where it's like, okay, they're clearly on a green screen or they're clearly not there. And I think the underwater atmosphere actually helped it to mask the realistic CGI. So when you're underwater you have all this dirt and grime and stuff like that, so everything's a little bit blurry, so that hides any kind of bad CGI, and that worked in this movie. What I disliked, I did not like that one character. She was very irritating. She had panic attacks. Her dialogue was probably the weakest. Every time she was talking, it was kind of like, what? What do you? We have other things to worry about. Shut up. And I didn't like the middle of the movie. Like I said, it was kind of boring and you couldn't see what was going on. That was something I didn't like in the middle of the movie, that things were happening, like they were still getting attacked and crazy stuff was happening, but a couple times I was like, wait, what just happened? Did he die? What? I had to look over at the person I was watching the movie with, and I was like, wait, did he get killed? Did he hurt? Is he still alive? Did he get ripped out of his suit? What happened there? It was very confusing sometimes because it was that up close camera, the shaky camera type of thing, where it's putting you into the action, but really all it's doing is making it so that you're confused and you can't understand what's going on. I'm so close to the action that I can't see any of it. It's kind of stupid. It reminded me of Born Supremacy. It's like what? Or Taken 3. That was probably the worst one. Taken 3. You couldn't tell what was going on in the action. He'd throw a punch and all of a sudden it was like cutting everywhere. So I did not like that. So I didn't like some of the interactions between the characters. Some of them were just to fill time. For the most part, the dialogue and the interactions were great. But some of the interactions between the characters were just for the audience. It was like to tell us something, and it was very, very cringy. It was indicating, really. It was indicating what's going on for us. And I was like, people wouldn't say that. Come on. So there were still some of those moments, but for the most part, their interactions and dialogue were great. That's some of the concepts that I didn't like in this movie. The overall concept of this is kind of a spoiler, but not really. I mean, it really doesn't spoil anything because you're probably expecting it anyway. But of course, they blame humans at a point in the movie where it's like, oh, it's our fault. Oh, we shouldn't have been doing this. That's just irritating. I mean, I swear to God, every horror movie or even action movie, anything is always negative about humans. Like these writers in Hollywood have such a negative view of the human race, And it's very irritating. Every single movie, oh, we shouldn't have been doing this. We shouldn't have been doing that. We're horrible. Oh, we deserve this. Okay, then why don't you just run at the monster? How about that? Why are you trying so hard to live that? If you're so horrible, if they really believed these things, they wouldn't be part of the human race anymore. I mean, there's a checkout. You can check out. You don't have to be part of the human race anymore. But they don't really believe that. They just want to seem deep and introspective and that they're caring. It's very virtue signaling type of mentality. And they do that in this movie, but just a little bit. It doesn't ruin the movie. So that annoying girl I was talking about, she is the one that puts this forward, this idea that, oh, it's our fault. And it's just irritating. It's like, oh, here we go again. But then they get back to the movie. They always have to throw those little poison pill type things in there, and then they move on back to the movie though. So that's okay. I could deal with that. Whatever. It's just one little part that's annoying. Fine. And then they go back to the action, or they go back to the horror, or something hits the wall, and they're like, oh God, what was that? Fine. Whatever. Make your little statement, but I wish they could just go one movie without making a statement. It's very irritating. For spoilers, let's see. Let's go to favorite parts. Spoilers. I would say one of the first people who die. Well, not the first people who die, because okay. So the premise is this: they're in this underwater. They're in this underwater drilling facility, which you don't even know. I mean, they talk about stuff, but you can't really tell what they're in. You couldn't tell if it was a research facility or what. We're trying to figure out what they're even doing in there. But apparently it's a drilling thing, so of course, evil oil company gets what they deserve, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so they're in this drilling thing, and something goes wrong, and there's like explosions all over the place, like the drill malfunctioned or something happened, right? So the beginning of the movie, they have this scene where Kristen Stewart is running, and she's with this other guy, and they're about to close this door, and they see people running towards them in this hallway, and the hallway is like moving and imploding behind them, and it looks cool as hell. It looks realistic, and it looks like there's actual danger coming at them. Other movies do that, and it looks very, off-putting. It's like, oh, well, they're just going to close the door and it'll be fine. This one really put you into the action. Like, it really did it well. And the effects were awesome at that part, too. So I really, really liked that part. Also, a little bit into that movie. So, again, spoilers. If you don't want to know who dies and how they die and stuff like that, don't listen. Skip ahead or just watch the movie and then come back. But the first guy who dies after that, so basically they're going down underwater again, and they're at the deepest part of the ocean. So the Mariana Trench, whatever. They're at that thing, and the guy goes down, or all of them go down to the base floor or whatever, and they're going into the water. So it's pressurizing the place that they're standing in, and the guy's helmet is faulty. The one guy's helmet is faulty, so the guy his helmet starts to crack, and you're thinking like, oh, okay, this guy's gonna drown, he's gonna die. The dude implodes, and the effects were awesome. I mean, the guy really looks like he implodes. He's freaking out. Everyone's freaking out around him, and the reactions to it were great. The effects were great. The sense of danger that they put with the music and everything was awesome. It was a really cool part. I really enjoyed that part, which is funny, like, what part did you enjoy? Oh, well, the part when the guy blew up. It's like, what were you, some kind of psycho? Hey, watching a horror movie, it was a cool kill. I liked it. So I did like the monster, too. I mean, there were two different types of monsters, right? So there's the little ones. Well, actually, there's three, because there's the baby ones that would just attack, and they weren't really useful. I mean, they were just like, oh, swat them away type of things. Then there were the little bit bigger ones, which are like the size of a human, maybe a little bit bigger. They were cool. They, like, we got the most up close look at them. They would try and swallow somebody like a snake, basically. She was getting swallowed, and she had a flare gun. She shot it while she was inside the belly of it, and, it broke out, whatever.
while she was being eaten, like its skin was so thin that the effects really looked cool. It was opening its mouth and it was swallowing her whole, and you see the whole thing. It was at a moment where they actually backed up the camera and you could see what's going on, and that was awesome. That was really cool. I liked the creature. So basically, the creatures, the big ones and the small ones, whatever, they're attached, or they're like parasites, or maybe they're the babies of this gigantic one. And I mean gigantic. I mean like Godzilla times maybe 5 or times 10. Like it was huge. And you get a good look at that, and you get a good look at the size too, because they show the people on the ground, and then they show this big monster, and they show things falling, and they show this, and it's they give it a really good scale for you to compare it to. Like, okay, that's what this is, that's what this is, and the monster looked cool too. The face looked cool, the eyes look cool, everything on it. It kind of looked like Cthulhu. I thought they were gonna call it that actually. Cthulhu, some god, I've seen him in South Park and things like that, and he's in a video game, some of them. But that's what he looked like to me, anyway. And that was an awesome circumstance. Like you did not expect a bigger monster. I mean, some maybe you did. I don't know. You could probably come to that conclusion where it's like, wait, how did all these little ones cause so much damage to this giant oil drilling thing? There's got to be something bigger out there. But you don't. Honestly, I can't imagine anyone expecting it to be that big. So yeah, the monsters were cool, and I did like that they armed up. There's a part at the beginning when things are happening, and they're getting dressed in their underwater suits or whatever they're going out there, which look like space suits. And the one guy goes up to the thing. He's like, "Hey, man, I don't know what's out there. You heard that transmission from the other base or from other people. I didn't like the sound of that. I'm taking this gun." And they arm up. He's like, "Yep, that's a good idea." It's like, thank you, horror movie people. Anyone who's ever watched a horror movie, you see that all the time. They never get a weapon. They don't grab a knife. They don't grab a chair leg. They don't even like anything. Anything. Just do something, and they did. They got their guns or whatever. They prove, kind of ineffective. They never hit a shot, I don't think, the entire movie, except for Kristen Stewart with the flare gun inside of him. But it was refreshing to see that they actually took a threat seriously, and they read into it. In a normal movie, they usually just say, "Oh well, things are imploding and stuff like that. Yeah, there was a weird transmission, but that could just be the roof caving in on them." Blah blah blah. That's what their thought process is, and then they go out there without any guns or without any kind of weapons, and it's like, dude, are you kidding me? A normal person would arm up. A normal person would be like, "Oh no no no, better safe than sorry. I'm grabbing this thing." So that's what they did. I did enjoy that, and I enjoyed this one part specifically. T.J. Miller, the one girl that says, "Oh, it's all our fault." That girl, she was freaking out, right? So when this is all happening, she is the most scared, and I like that too. The characters were different. It wasn't the same character just cloned and different actor playing that. The characters had different personalities, and they had different ways of dealing with the stress and things like that. They were actual characters that you could actually get behind. So the scared character, she's freaking out and she's having the hardest time. And T.J. Miller's character, they're talking about like, hey, and somebody's gonna have to go out there and fix this for us. We have to go out there and actually get this thing or whatever. And T.J. Miller decides, he goes, "All right, Emily, you're up." And she looks at him like, "What?" He's like, nah, I'm just messing with you. I'll go." It's like, it was a really good joke. It was really good. And it played to those two characters' things. So one character is freaking out and absolutely, and understandably so. She's very annoying, but you can understand her freak out. I mean, she thinks she's going to die. It makes sense for her to freak out. And TJ Miller's character is more of a comedy type character where he's just trying to cope with the situation by being funny and alleviating some of the stress. Both characters make sense, and watching them two interact in that moment is hilarious. It works. Everything kind of shines through with those characters and makes sense for the moment. and it makes sense for the movie as well. Kristen Stewart's character is likable. You do root for her, which again is surprising. I don't usually like her in movies, but in this movie she was actually pretty good. She's wearing the helmet most of the time, and the spacesuit or whatever, so I didn't mind it. And when she wasn't wearing the helmet, usually she's in her underwear, so that was good too. It's like, oh yeah, she might have a buzzed head or short hair and look like she has a guy haircut, but she's in her underwear, so it kind of evens out. And I also did like that the captain, he stayed. So at the beginning of the movie, they have this scene where she goes onto the bridge and the captain is sitting there, and he's like on the phone, right, or something. I can't remember what he's doing. And he opens the door for him and he's talking to him, and he talks about like how many people escaped, right? So I already set up 25 lifeboats, blah 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 blah. He's like, well, why didn't you stay? Or not, why didn't you stay? Why didn't you go? Like, any one of us would have pushed you into that. You have kids at home and blah blah blah, all this stuff, right? But he chose to stay, and I thought that was really cool. That was like a captain, setting up this character to be the captain. He's taking responsibility for this place. He's the person who needs to stay. This is my responsibility. And then later in the movie, you find out that, like, oh, he doesn't have kids anymore. His daughter died. And it's kind of like oh, okay. They didn't do too well on making you care about his character specifically. But, they had to give something, some kind of backstory to some of these characters. And sometimes you don't care. And sometimes they're just stupid backstories, so you really don't care. And you really want them to die. This one, I mean, they set up some backstories with most of the characters, but for the most part, it was like irrelevant. For certain characters, it made sense why they made the decisions that they did, so that was kind of a good choice to do that. But it wasn't the main part of the movie. Like, these characters' backstories is not something that makes or breaks the movie, and it's not something that you really pay too much of attention to. So, hated parts. I absolutely hated that part where the girl is talking about. So she's saying, like, we took too much, and now the world is taking back. It's like, shut the hell up. You know that if you were in that situation, you would tell that chick to shut up. How is this helping in any way right now? You want to blame us? You hate us so much, right? Then why'd you take this job? You can work wherever the hell you want. You don't have to work for this oil company. Why are you working for this oil company? If they're so evil and you really believe they're evil, then don't work for them. I mean, it's such a stupid line. They always got to put stupid little things like that in there. Such a negative view of humanity that it's like, you're making a movie where we're supposed to root for the humans. Do you know that? Why are you saying this? It doesn't make any sense. Do you want me to root for the monster? Is that what you're doing? Because the whole movie, you're supposed to be rooting for these people, and you're finding out about their backstories and their loved ones and how good they are together, and they're moral people. And then she says something like that. It's like, oh well, I guess you should all die then. Yeah, you're right. I guess the Cthulhu character should kill you all because we deserve it. Like, get the hell out of here. It was just very irritating and out of place too. You could tell somebody just threw that line in there to make a statement and to, well, seemingly to irritate everyone. Because every movie they have to do something like that. It's so dumb. I hated this part where they're walking through the water, and we're still wondering what these monsters look like. We know that there's monsters out there. Like, from the very beginning, there's going to be monsters in this movie. It can't just be a regular underwater, problem or something. So we're waiting for these monsters, and then when they show up, it's so quick and like, oh my god, it's like from a first person's view where they just like fly into the camera type thing really quick, and you're like, what just happened? What character was that the thing even hit? It was very underwhelming when the monsters first showed up. It was very underwhelming. Even the small one is like eating on the back of like a survivor a body that's in the water, and it turns around and attacks the guy real quick. but it happens so fast and in first person that we don't see it too well. And it's like, wait, what just happened? Is a small one? And you're basically revert to talking about it and trying to decipher what just happened instead of just seeing what happened and having that sink in. You have to actually think about it and think like, oh, well, oh, it could have been, oh, just a baby one, or it's just a small one. Oh, that's what happened. Oh, okay, which takes you out of the movie. I mean, it's a good decision to kind of keep it a mysterious type of thing, but when you're trying to introduce a monster character, you could do it in a way that, yes, keeps it hidden, but you could actually see what's going on. This was, it's hidden. I'm still wondering about the monster, but I couldn't tell what even happened. Did it attack that guy? Is that guy dead now? Oh no, there he is again. He's fine. What did it do to him then? I'm very confused. Like, it just confused you instead of introducing the monster in a creepy way. The captain also had this mysterious way about him. Like, when they first introduced his character, he's on the phone with somebody or on the radio with somebody, and then the way he's looking at like the camera and stuff when they're seeing weird things going on, like, wait, was that a creature? What the heck was that? And they're listening to the distress signals from other people on the rig, and he has this look like he knows more than he, is letting on, but he apparently doesn't. Or maybe he does, and there's going to be a sequel, and it's going to say that. I don't know, but the whole movie, like, he's doing these things and making these faces where you think that they were really down there to search for these creatures. They weren't really down there to search for drilling or something. You thought that there was going to be some kind of twist just based on this guy's reactions and this guy's acting and this guy's, the things that he's saying. But it wasn't. He was just a normal guy. His daughter died, at 14 or whatever. Maybe that's what they were trying to do, that he's just fine with dying. That character, I think, was very strange. Where I was trying to figure out who the hell this guy is and what does he know, and then it went nowhere. So it was like, why'd you have him make these mysterious looks and do these things where he's like, oh, well, I don't know, and he changed his subject a lot whenever they started talking about, are there creatures out there or something like that. He would change the subject, be like, we have to go, blah blah blah. It's like, what? Okay, so this guy clearly knows something. Let's find out what he knows, type of thing. But then he just doesn't know anything. It's like, it was a big wasted opportunity, I think, or just don't have that opportunity even in there. All right, so favorite character, I would say, probably T.J. Miller's character, just because his comedy was actually on point. He reacted like a normal human being. He wanted to arm up. He kept on having realistic things like, no, I ain't going out there. You kidding me? So wait, why did you save me from this rubble just to die out there? Like that? No, that's stupid. And he would react in appropriate ways to these types of situations, and it was pretty cool. Kristen Stewart's character was pretty likable too, but she was more on the bland side. It was more on the, hey, I know what we have to do. Let's go do this. I'm going to be the sacrificial one. I'll sacrifice myself for you, type of thing. It was a good character. She did it well, but I think T.J. Miller's character was probably my favorite. Like, if I watched the movie again, I'd be more focused on his character in the time that he's in it. So I think best character would have to be him. Worst character would definitely be the girl from Iron Man. Iron Man. No, Iron Fist. And Game of Thrones. That girl, she was irritating the entire movie. She's just whining and just, oh my god, what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? Shut the fuck up and listen. How about that? Just do your job and shut the hell up. You're not helping. You're not helping in any way. You're not alleviating the stress. You're just stressing the rest of us out. Be quiet and do your job. That's it. How does that help in any way? Freaking out in these situations. They have these women in horror movies that freak out or scream or something like that. It's like, oh my God, how is that helping you in any way? If anything, that's letting you know, like, hey, monsters, I'm over here. Hey, come on, everyone. And it's just so stupid. What really pissed me off about her character, too, is that she survived. It doesn't make any sense. Oh, by the way, another part of this movie that sucked, just to add this into worst parts, is that at the beginning of the movie, the captain says, "I released 25 escape pods, blah blah blah." But then at the end of the movie, they have this montage thing of the two people that actually survived in the group that we know of, and they're talking about two survivors from blah 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 blah. The only survivors of this. It's like, wait a minute, what happened to those 25 escape pods? You tell me the monsters all ate those escape pods, but it didn't eat the ones at the very end? Like, that doesn't make any sense. It was weird. It didn't jive with what had happened earlier in the movie. We're under the impression that, okay, people already made it out, but these two, like, if they had it like, oh, these 25 people made it out, and but these two have a different story than the other 25, and the other 25 are like, what the hell are you talking about? There were no monsters down there. I didn't see any monsters, because they weren't down there very long. That would have been better. But instead, they just had the two survivors that we know, the girl and her boyfriend, I guess, that they dragged everywhere. They have them be the only two survivors of this situation, and it's just, it doesn't make any sense based on what they created earlier. They could have filled in the blanks, said something to make it make sense, but they didn't. Anyway, that girl, she survives. That's what pissed me off the most, is that she's the worst character in the movie. The one that you probably, no one roots for her, or maybe they do because they feel bad for her. There's always those people that watch these movies like, oh my god, that girl's just so innocent. She's so no, she's weak, and she's a little brat who just whines and wants everyone to do everything for her. And then at the end of the movie, she just like, no, you can't leave. We can't leave you here. And blah blah. It's like, lady, just get on the escape pod and shut the hell up. You're complaining the entire movie about how you're scared to die. Then you have the moment where you're talking about how we deserve to die. Oh, okay, well, which is it? Do you want to die? Do you not want to die? Which is it? And then when she's getting in the escape pod and Kristen Stewart is sacrificing herself, is saying like, oh no, you get in it, not me, blah, blah, blah. She's arguing with her like, no, we can't leave you behind. We can't do this. I thought all humans deserve to die. Like, what are you talking about, lady? You're so mixed. It doesn't make any sense. I hated that character so much. And then she survives. That really pissed me off. The movie's good, though. I'm ragging on this girl a lot. The movie's good. That character does not ruin the movie, but if you just take her selectively and just talk only about her, she sucks. Which is, it's crappy, because I actually like that girl. She's, a nice person, and I've seen her in interviews and things like that. And she's a good person. She's funny, and she has a good time and everything. In this movie, her character was eh. Movies to compare it to, I would say Cloverfield comes pretty close, which is T.J. Miller's in that too. Because the monster is inventive, the way that they do things, the camera movements and things like that, it reminded me a lot of Cloverfield. Basically, if you liked Cloverfield, you'll probably like this movie even better. Maybe not. Well, let's say equally, at least, because this movie does have a little bit of the first person view. The monster is interesting. The monster is cool. It reminds me of it too, because little creatures fall off the bigger creature, which is reminiscent of Cloverfield's actual monster. And the tone of it. It has some comedy, it has some horror, it has gruesome parts, and it really, really reminded me of Cloverfield in a positive way too. Not like a knockoff way or anything like that, in a positive way. So for the rating, I would say it's a Wolverine. I'd say it's probably, yeah, it's definitely a Wolverine. It's carnage. There's a lot of moments where the people blow up, or somebody gets like crushed or something like that, or they break their arm. It's very violent. It's good in that regard too. It's good violence. It's not hokey or anything like that. It's powerful, but it can be hurt. It's Wolverine in that regard, where it's like, yes, this movie is great, really doing good, but it has negative parts. It can be hurt. The girl in it, the dialogue at some moments, the procrastinating on stuff. It's like, hey, we don't have time to talk about our feelings right now. Let's go. Like, we have things to do. We even established that we have things to do. Like, let's go. So it has some negative parts, but for the most part, it is powerful. It has good action and some bad. because of the shaky camera and stuff like that. And it's funny. Wolverine always has funny quips and things like that, and I think that's really what this movie was. It was definitely a Wolverine. So there's my review of Underwater. If you liked it, if you have any comments about it, if you'd like to add something, let me know. You could contact me at oldandnewmoviereview@gmail. That's OLDN, not old and old and new movie review at gmail. Also, leave a comment below if you'd like. Also, if there's any movies that you'd like me to review, let me know. For right now, I'm just going based off of what's coming out and what's an old movie I can maybe compare it to, or what's going on around the times. I did this one because it's a Halloween type of episode. Do a scary movie. So I'll try and keep that kind of in mind for what's going on at the times, to try and do a movie that kind of relates to what's going on. And I'll always try and keep it an old movie and a new movie. So this is Caveats from Old and New Movie Review, and I hope you enjoyed.